All right, well, hello, and welcome everyone to our BG5 Live. Great to have each and every one of you here with us today. Today is July 5th. This is actually my half birthday. So my birthday's on January 5th. This is my half birthday. This is also Natalie's birthday as well. So happy birthday to Natalie. So today is July 5th, 2022. Today is episode 163. And today we're going to take a look at provoking. We're going to take a look at trait 39. And trait 39 is all about provoking the spirit. So 39 is obstruction. And we're going to talk about what obstruction means and why it's called obstruction. And we're also going to be talking about provoking the spirit. So that's what we're going to be talking about today. Before we jump in and get started, let's say hello to our panel. Let's start with Shelly. Hey, Shelly, welcome.
Hello, everybody. It's so great to be here. And it's also my daughter-in-law's birthday today, too. So
happy birthday to your daughter-in-law
to all
also.
the birthdays today. Yes.
Yes. Oh, welcome, Shelly. And hello, Anna. Welcome.
Hi, everyone. Well, it's a provoking day. It's a wonderful day. So welcome.
Yes.
Glad to be here.
Love it. Well, welcome, Anna, and welcome to all of you who are live in our Zoom room and live on Facebook. If you do want to participate, we would love to have you participate. So if you have trait 39 in your career design, we would love to hear from you. Also, if you have the 55, which is on the other side, but don't have the 39, we would also love to hear from you as well. So be prepared. All right, let's jump in and get started. So we are now in July. Can you believe we are halfway through the year? And when we take a look at July, we are in the last section of purpose fulfilled through form. And what we're going to be focused on here in July is the pressure. We're going to start with the pressure to this journey towards spirit, this pressure of obstruction that we're going to take a look at today, provocation, the journey towards spirit. So this is provoking. And we're also going to take a look at another pressure trait, which is beginnings in the 53. Development, transition, and change. It's also a pressure. So in the next couple of weeks, you'll probably feel a lot of pressure and pressure that initiates something new. So it's provoking the start of something new by looking at the details, telling stories about the past, stepping up as a leader, and revealing secrets of the past as well. Because then we have the last 4 of the communication and action traits. We start with details. This is the preponderance of the small. This is the I think expression. Then we have stimulation in the 56. So again, we're going to take a look at collective expression in the last part of July. So details, and then we jump over to stimulation, the wanderer, the storyteller. This is the I believe expression. Then we go to influence. We go back to the logical side in the 31, the natural expression of leadership, the I lead expression. And then we wrap up this month in retreat in the 33, in privacy, the revelation of secrets in the I remember expression. So one of the things that we'll see is that the beginning of this month is very pressurized, this pressure to provoke, the pressure to begin something new, and then collective going back and forth between the logic and the abstract, going back and forth by taking a look at what's happening in the future to looking back into the past and taking a look at telling stories from the past, remembering secrets from the past, while we take a look at the details to allow us to move forward into the future and the details that allow us to influence and lead through expression. So I think it's going to be a very, very interesting month. You can also see by the design of today, there's a lot going on right now. We can see that there's a lot of definition in today's chart. We can see the 3 and the 60. This is this pressure for mutation, again, to start something new. You can see what grounds the 39 is the 38, and the 38 is the fighter. So it's the provoker and the fighter, right, is what we're going to be experiencing for the next week to begin something new. And sometimes as an individual, these are both individual traits, you need to fight to bring out what's new, because the collective and the tribe don't really like change. And so in order to bring forth change, to bring forth something different, we need to fight for it. We need to provoke others, right? And again, we have this pressure to mutate in the 360 that is currently defined, right? This right here, connecting the drive and stamina to the energy resource. We also have this crisis leading to progress defined as well. We have the 36 defined. Again, that's going to be defined for the next 3 years. And we have the 35. The 35 of progress is defined with our values. So again, this change, taking a look at our values and the progress of our values. And also, if we take a look at the past and future direction, we're still in the 2343 of this unique insight, the voice of I know. So again, a lot of definition, a lot of pressure. So especially if you feel like things have been a bit crazy, that you feel very pressurized this last week, this pressurized feeling's probably going to continue for the next couple of weeks before then we're able to start to express it. So I'm just curious, Shelley and Anna, or anyone here who is live in our Zoom room, if you've been experiencing pressure, especially over the last week.
Yes.
Yes, yes, and yes. You go ahead, Anna. You go first.
Okay. Yeah, it's been very interesting. I've been having spats with people, a couple people close to me, and just not not mean or anything. It's just this, don't you get it? Or this is what needs to happen, or this is like, stop doing that, or whatever. But this pressure and just feeling provoked at some of the obstruction that is mental interference, not just the nature of obstruction and what that real process is, but the mental stuff that our shadowy stuff that gets in the way of the journey towards the spirit. So that's pretty interesting.
Yes, definitely. I've had some of those spats myself this last week. That's funny. Yes, Shelley, how has it shown up for you?
Well, it's really interesting because I have the 39 in my design and it functions a bit different for me. It's in my communication and it's about me disappearing and not spatting. It's the opposite. I tend to not know, I disengage and don't know when to re-engage, and no one else knows when I'm going to come back and re-engage either. So it's a really interesting thing to have in my communication zone. And I'm hoping to learn a little more about it in depth today as we talk about this. But definitely there's been all kinds of obstacles in my path in the last week, just juggling, getting all of our courses set up, stuff coming at me from everywhere, little details all over the place, and things not always working the way you think they're going to work. So yeah, just lots of problems to solve. It's also something I really enjoy doing, though, is getting over those hurdles, getting over those obstacles, finding my way around them, or finding ways to succeed in spite of them, kind of thing. So that's kind of more what's been going on for me this week.
Yes. And beautiful examples of where we are right now in the 39 as well. So let's jump in and take a look at this week's theme. So again, we're in trait 39. This is about obstruction, and this is provocation. This is the journey towards spirit. And so you can kind of see in this picture, there's sort of this all of the challenges that you have to work through. And sometimes it's really that obstruction or being able to work through the challenges that really allow us to tap into our spirit, right? If things are too easy, right? If things are flowing too much, we often don't learn. And where we really learn and where we really wake up and where we really pay attention to things, where we're really aware of things, is when we come up against obstructions, when we come up against problems or issues or challenges that we need to move past. So when we take a look at trait 39, this is the fuel for obstruction and avoidance. This is what Shelley was talking about. So again, it either is something that's in the way that you fight against, or it's something that you try to avoid that can provoke analysis and reevaluation. So oftentimes when things are flowing right along, again, as I mentioned before, we're not paying any attention. Then all of a sudden, boom, we run up against a brick wall. Now what do we do? Do we confront it? Do we go around it? Do we go over it? Do we break through it? Right? Or do we totally avoid it? It could be any of those things. And this can be a combative fuel that helps tease out the true spirit of what is taking place. Again, sometimes you don't look deeper when things are going and flowing just as they should. So sometimes these obstacles are what has us pay attention to things. I often think of an obstacle course, right? Where you have to go through all of these ups and downs and arounds. And when you finally make it through to the other side, it's like, whew, I made it. Just kind of like the obstacle course of life, right? The obstacles, these obstructions allow us to push ourselves beyond our limits, to understand ourselves at a deeper level, and to ultimately, in a sense, provoke the spirit, awaken the spirit. And it's getting in touch with and working with your own feelings, right? What it provokes is emotional intelligence. What it provokes is emotions, right? That's what's on the other side. And if you have this particular strength of provocation, which is the 3955, this is also the strength of moodiness as well, where you can be moody and you can be melancholy. It's very individual. So that moodiness, that melancholy, that can be can bring you down, or that's where you can tap into your creative muse. It can also be very creative as well. And sometimes the best strategy is to bypass obstacles rather than overcome them, right? Or give up on them. Sometimes it's just about going around them. And this is the energy to persevere through your periods of assessment, right? So again, because of the obstacles, you have to reassess, you have to reevaluate, you have to look at things in a slightly different way. And provoking reveals also whose spirit is correct for you. Particularly if you have the 39, you have to have a bit of a thick skin, because sometimes you provoke even when you don't mean to provoke. And I think both Anna and Shelley have the 39. So I'm interested to hear from both of them how that shows up. And again, as I was saying, you may need to develop a thick skin as those interested in what your emotional those not interested in what your emotional awareness. Oh, I left out something here. Anyway, the thick skin in if they don't like how you're provoking them, what you're provoking them with, it's probably just not right for you. Right. So in a sense, that provocation is part of your gift. It's one of your talents, because it helps you see who is aligned with you, who's aligned with your spirit, who's aligned in the direction that you want to go, and who's not. And it's okay if they're not, right? You have the ability to, in a sense, sort that out, to feel that out, to provoke that out. So I would love to hear from Shelley and Anna. They both have the 39. And how this shows up for you. I would also love to hear if any of you here live in our Zoom room would like to share. We would love to hear from you if you have trait 39. Also, if you are live in our Facebook, you can go ahead and write a comment. We'll read the comment as well. So let's start with Anna.
A couple of things provoked me in this. Yeah, I have this trait, and when I first discovered it, read the description, it was like obstruction, feeling inhibited by some of the description. Yeah, and I have it in my unusualness. And over the years, I've understood that some of how I communicate is with really different concepts. Some, I'll throw something in, and now it's appreciated as wisdom. But when I was 13 or 21, or, it's like, what do you, where'd you get that? How do you know that? Or what use is that? Anyway, it was provoking spirit that I didn't understand exactly what it was, but I was always headed towards spirit in the richness of that, because from my perspective, spirit is what makes matter permeable. When you're talking about obstruction and obstacles and challenges and going over and under and through and breakthrough and all this stuff, that's a lot of work. It's a lot of physical, mental efforting. But in the concept of right effort, it's spirit that makes things permeable. You don't have to bang through the solid wall or climb a friggin' mountain to get something to happen. As an innovator, I understand this because I can get resistance. I got a lot of resistance before I knew some of this stuff. So this was sort of a tandem experience for me. And because I was emotionally very, very sensitive and had to develop that tougher part of me, an inner strength to know what was correct for me. And even in these, when I mentioned, having these little spats, somebody in particular is very mad at me right now in a loving way, but just why do you have to be so hard line? It's like, no, it's just no. It's just no, that's all. No explanations, no whatever. So there's this pressure to try to manipulate, get around something that needs to have awareness. And if I gave in to this person, they wouldn't be able to really progress in their way, whatever that way is, but that awareness wouldn't happen. The other piece I was pondering is in this pressure, there's the classic, let me back up. Sometimes I get 5 thoughts at once and I can't explain them all. In this whole realm of pressure, when you think about a plant, a tree, a rose bush, or whatever, we're in the season of summer. The plant has already bloomed, and now there's pressure to build fruit, the fruit of our actions, the forming of fruit. It's not done yet. It's not fall. It's not ripe and ready to pick. It's this pressure to produce this form and put form into something that has spirit. So if spirit's not provoked, you can produce something, but a peach may not taste very good, or the bud may not open, or the project you're working on may not really meet the expectations. It'll have form, but it may not have that essence that makes something really alive and valuable. And it's the fruiting, it's that energy that goes from the root up and into developing. Sometimes it's a crisis, sometimes it's it's progress. If you well, I don't want to get too far, but anyway, it's time where the fruit is developing. It's not done, it's getting initiated, and there is resistance. There's sort of a natural resistance and a timing. When you think about emotional intelligence, it's all about timing.
Yeah, beautifully said, Anna. Yeah. Great example as well. And Shelley.
Yeah, it's so interesting listening to your experience of it too, Anna. As I was mentioning, mine is in my communication, and it's in the challenge area with the one, which is all about disengagement. And when I first learned about obstruction and what this is really all about is I've spent my lifetime in my career problem solving, and I have the 3 times in my unusualness. It's all about providing options for solutions. Between that and this obstruction of 39, I was always up against obstacles in trying to find solutions for them. And I love doing that. Like I said, give me any challenge because I'll find a way around it. And so I could see how that really played out in my IT career. And it is something that I love to do. When I learned about more in depth about myself, about how it works for me in my communication center, I had to really start paying attention to how I do this and recognize and not get down on myself for actually having this, for recognizing that this happens to me all the time. And I was always feel guilty about it. I don't feel guilty about it anymore. I just go with the flow of it, where I tend to, sometimes I'll just completely disengage and I won't say a thing and nobody will know when I'm coming back. I do this quite often. I do it on social media. I'll put out a post and then you won't hear from me for months or years. Nobody knows when I'm coming back. I don't even know when I'm coming back. And it is all about the feeling of it. I was just pondering how a couple of months ago I had a particularly challenging client I was working with, and it felt really awkward. The whole process I was going through, trying to show them their design, I just could feel the obstacle. I could feel the resistance. I could feel we weren't really connected. Something was happening, and I wasn't able to really do what I thought was my best work. And I felt really bad about it. When the session ended, I kind of was really emotional, and I just I stewed with it for the last couple of months, not knowing what to do. So I just completely disengaged. And just yesterday, I went, oh, I think it's okay for me to re-engage now. I just had a feeling and a sense that I've worked through whatever the emotion of that was. And now I can actually see it from a completely different perspective that I couldn't see it from while I was in it and processing the emotion of it, recognizing, oh, wait a minute, they might have been thinking something different than I was thinking. I'm going to go back and review the session and just see what I pick up. And of course, I see a completely different thing than what I thought was happening at the time. So it's almost like that, that obstruction, this what we think of as a challenge area, for me is really just the way I do things. It's the way I interact with the world. That's what the communication center is about, is how you interact with the world. And so I love it that it's also an indication that if somebody is not in line with you, it's nothing personal. It's just they're just not, their spirit's not for you, or you're not the one that's meant to provoke their spirit. And maybe I feel like what was happening in the session was that I was provoking them quite a lot without even trying. I wasn't doing anything that I don't normally do, and they were being really provoked. And I was picking up on their unease and the nervousness, and feeling like, oh my gosh, what's going on here? Is this me or them?
Right.
And in the middle, it was hard to tell. So now that I've had a bit of time and space disengaged, I'm able to see things from a different perspective. So this was really interesting that this is the trait the last day or two. I hadn't even had time to pay attention to what the trait was this week, but I definitely felt this shift yesterday, that it was okay now to re-engage.
Yeah.
So
yeah, really great example, Shelley. Thank you so very, very much. And that, oh yeah.
With what Shelley just said about the discomfort. Sometimes something's correct, and yet there's discomfort around it. and it may or may not be your own energy, you know. So again, that falls into what you just said about you don't have to personalize all of it, but if you're feeling discomfort, then you can sort what is affecting me, what is mine to look at, and the rest isn't yours, because in provoking you get provoked too.
Thank you for that, Anna. That's exactly kind of what it felt like, because it did really make me feel really disorganized, disconnected. I was in a lot of discomfort through the whole session, and that isn't normal for how a session usually lights me up and I'm really connected. So it was quite a strange experience. I'm really glad I had it, because it has given me the opportunity to see that things don't always just interact the way you think you're going to. And sometimes we don't know why. And when I go back and review it and looked at our charts together and looked at a few other things, listened to what was really going on, and I'm seeing things I couldn't see at the time. So it's great to be able to have that hindsight and something to sort it out with.
Yeah, exactly. And again, if you do have this particular trait, you may find, just like both Shelley and Anna were speaking about, that you provoke others, and in return, you also get provoked. And again, it's not personal. It's easy to take it very personally, but when you can recognize, and that's one of the beauties of BG5, is being able to recognize how things show up in connection with others, and why things get provoked, or recognizing that you're provoking others and that you do have to develop a bit of a thick skin, because sometimes there's rejection that goes along with it, especially like what Anna was saying in being an innovator. Right. So there's a lot to take a look at here. Now, I know, Valerie, you have written something here. I don't know if you would like to share it. I'm going to give you the microphone. We can also just read it as well, but I'm going to allow you to talk if you would love to. We would love to hear from you. And you have trait 39. So how does it show up for you?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Oh, perfect. Yeah, I have the 39. And as I had mentioned in the chat, especially as of lately, really, honing in and focusing on my design more, started recognizing how trait 39 is playing out for me right now. Not so much, I guess, in me provoking others or provoking externally, but as you were mentioning in the descriptions, was getting in touch with and working out your own feelings, that journey towards spirit, because I had been for a long time, very combative, I guess, with life, and especially with a career I was in that wasn't really fulfilling to me and wasn't, satisfying, and was really fighting against it with my own mind and my mental constructs of why I needed to stay in it. But there just seemed to be this battle between it. And so within the past couple months, I finally gave myself permission to turn within and really look at my feelings, where they were stemming from, just doing some very deep work on that. And out of that came just a beautiful transformation that is, of course, still unfolding, but just a really, as trait 39 mentions, is the journey towards spirit. And I've had a very deep unfolding and a deeper connection with spirit, and understanding life in a different way now, understanding my design in a different way, and just increasing my level of consciousness and really trusting in the unfolding of my personal journey. And so I'm definitely experiencing a lot of trait 39 right now.
Oh, that's really beautiful, Valerie. Thank you so much for sharing that. And just like you mentioned, just like we were talking about earlier, it's often, in a sense, the struggles that allow us to see things in a different way or search for something a bit deeper, to reconnect, to be able to transform things that are, in a sense, maybe no longer working or seem like obstacles. And it sounds like you're doing a beautiful job in being able to recognize that and move through it. So thank you so much for sharing that, Valerie.
Yes, thank you.
Yes. And it looks like we also have Rebecca as well. Give me 1 second here. Well, for some reason, I'm not able to. I don't know if I have a bar that's over my. There we go. Now I can do it.
I promoted her. Yeah.
There we go.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Rebecca.
Hi. So I do have the 39 and I also have the 38 and I'm going, okay. Obstruction and the fighter, they both feel like they're, it's good balance. I have felt very reflective, like the last 24 hours, going, oh my God, was I being unreasonable in my, I wasn't meaning to be provocative, but was I being unreasonable? And anyway, so that's kind of where I'm at the moment. And then, but one of the instances was with one of my friends, and I can come on kind of strong at times. And when I realized afterwards, I was going, oh, this isn't about this. I think I was saying what I believe is true, but also what it revealed is, and on reflection is that it just revealed something really important to me about my design. And then the other piece that feels challenging is, so that's the part about working out your own feelings. And then the part that's hard right now is because it also feels like it's revealing whose spirit is correct for you. And I feel really sad because I feel like if I step into who I am, some people will step away. And the idea of having to do that, even after I've done this many times in my life, but the idea of having to do this feels really, it makes me sad. It doesn't mean that it is, I don't know what the outcome will be yet, but it just, not having to deny everything and capitulate, and realizing maybe there are gentler ways of saying it, but still needing to say it. Anyway, so the idea of possibly losing people, some people will stay, some people will go.
Right.
And I want everybody to stay, and it doesn't work out that way sometimes.
Yeah. Yeah. And that is part of the provoking. That's part of the why sometimes you have to develop a thick skin, because also as times change, what you provoke and how you provoke people can also change as well. And sometimes it can be painful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing that, Rebecca. Beautiful. And how about for you, Vicki? Vicki, you're saying your unconscious grounding is the 39. So provocative plus being an evaluator. Anyway, we would love to hear from you as well, Vicki.
So yeah, I've just had that realization of so it's being the evaluator and reflecting people back at them, but also the subconscious provoking of their spirit. And it's all just suddenly made sense this morning on another level. So
yeah, exactly.
but definitely you do develop that thick skin. And mine's in line 3 as well. So bonds made and broken over and over again. So what Rebecca was saying was just beautiful.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and it's not always easy. And one of the things to realize as well, the 55 on the other side is one part of the background frequency that we're moving towards in the era of the individual. And one of the things that we may recognize more and more as well is people provoking us and us provoking others to really get to, our spirits, what's really there behind all of our facades and masks and everything else, getting to the abundance of what's really truly there. And that's part of what we do in BG5 as well, is help people get to what is really you, and to let go of those things that aren't you. And sometimes that also can be provoking and painful as well, because we've set up our life in a certain way. We've been conditioned in a certain way. And this is, it's interesting that provoking happens before something new can begin, right? Next week, we're going to take a look at the 53. We're going to be moving into the 53 this week. And so in order to begin something new, we often don't begin something new unless we're provoked to, right? Because if it's easy, everything's going along, there's no need to start something new. But again, we're being provoked right now because there is something new on the horizon. So beautiful. Yeah, Shelley.
Something, Karen, just listening to Rebecca's story too reminded me of Rebecca, I feel you as well. I went through that a couple of years ago, sort of reevaluating and really stepping into who I am. And it was terrifying when I was first contemplating doing it. And I had built it up to be this, oh my God, what's going to happen when I actually own myself and just let myself be me? What'll happen? Who's going to stay? Who will leave? And the funniest thing happened, that when I actually fully embraced myself, it was like a little poof. Oh, that wasn't as anywhere near as horrible as I was imagining it was going to be. It was like almost a non-event. It was such a tiny little shift I had to make to just capture and really own who I am and follow my decision-making strategy as honoring myself and knowing what it is that I need to be me in the world. And I tell you, it's so freeing. And what happened for me is that people around me slightly adjusted too and kind of went, oh, great, cool. That's what you need. Awesome. They barely, like it was almost imperceptible, the change. And yet it was so significant for me in being able to really own myself and be myself, that I feel so much better now. And it, just so to encourage you not to worry yourself into a place of feeling like it will be disastrous. Trust the people around you that love you, and you'll be surprised how they show up.
Oh, thank you, Shelley. And thank you so much, Rebecca, for sharing that and being so vulnerable. As Leanna said, beautiful. Feel you, Rebecca. Thank you for sharing. These moments of clarity can be a little heartbreaking sometimes too. And Vicky's saying, right, this is the pressure of individual mutation. That's part of this pressure to change. And we want to be the status quo and things going along as planned. But this is about individual mutation. This is about bringing forth something new and something different. And it can be scary. It's usually why people don't change. It's usually why people don't wake up, because it can be scary. And sometimes we don't do that until we're actually forced to. And in many respects, that's what the 39 is about. With the obstruction, how do you get past the obstruction? In a sense, it sort of stops you in your tracks. And yet, do you allow it to stop you permanently, or do you find a way around it to really tap into who you really are and tap into the spirit of what is you? Yeah, really beautiful. Because on the other side, we keep talking about spirit. On the other side, if we take a look at how you get affected when you're connected, the shadow of the 39, or when you don't have trait 39, the other side is the 55. The 55 is the abundance of spirit. So especially if you have trait 55, but you don't have trait 39, so we can see that 39 pressurizes the 55 of abundance of spirit. And that's why we keep talking about this is the provoking the spirit. It is the energy, it's the fuel that provokes the spirit. And so the shadow of the 39 is a lack of passion or an oversensitivity to what you are feeling. So I have the 55, but I don't have the 39. It's one of the reasons why I love working with both Shelley and Anna, because they both provoke me. So with this, so if you have the 55, especially, and you don't have the 39, this can also be if you don't have the 39 and you don't have the 55 as well. Do you feel a sense of emotional emptiness? Do you lack passion and drive? Are you nervous, not knowing what to be passionate about? And the problem is that your biggest fear is emotional emptiness and lack of passion. And you're always looking for that perfect emotional state, as well as an awareness to what you are feeling. I know this is true for myself. So you're designed to work with others who will provoke your spirit and your moods. And this helps bring awareness to what you are feeling. And I know several times, I know especially with Shelley, there's been some times when I've been really frustrated, and she's been able to really help me put words to, and same thing with Natalie as well, because Natalie also has the 39, help me bring awareness to what I'm feeling and to make sense of what I'm going through and what I'm feeling. So the 39 can really help, especially if you have the 55, help provoke that spirit. So you really get to what's behind the feeling, what's being provoked behind those emotions. So I would love to hear from anyone who has the 55, or if your experience, if you have the 39 and come in contact with the 55 as well. How about for you, Shelley? See you smiling there.
Well, I love working with you too, Karen, because you often help me find my spirit. I realize that the provoking is a natural thing for me to do. I'm not even aware I'm doing it, but I often do feel like I want to get at what's underneath all of this. What is the emotion that's driving whatever state somebody's in, and how do we kind of help people find that for themselves so that they can really be aware of where their spirit's at. But I love how you just kind of help me. Just having this connection together, you really help me get in touch with what I'm feeling about things as well, because I don't have the 55. So and all my connections to my emotional intelligence are unconscious. And so it's sometimes hard for me to know what I'm actually feeling unless I am provoked, or unless I encounter that dance that we were talking about, that I provoke somebody and they provoke me back. It's kind of the working together. This is why we need each other so much, is we help each other, understand what it is we're really going through.
Yes, exactly. And this is the beauty of what we talk about in BG5, is really the interrelationship between us. And once we remove the ignorance of conditioning, we can take advantage of what conditioning brings, right? So if I need to get more in touch with my feelings, I know who to go to. I can go to Shelley and I can go to Anna and kind of talk through things to get more clarity. The same thing if they're trying to tap into what their spirit is and need some help, being provoked into their own spirit, right? I can help them do that. And that's what makes it so beautiful, is that we all have what is uniquely us, and others have, in a sense, the other side. And when we come together, we have this opportunity to really support and work with each other in a whole deeper way when we start to understand this. And Valerie is saying, when we were talking earlier about this pressure of individual mutations, she said, yes, the individual pressure is challenging and can feel heavy, but if we lean in, something beautiful will be on the other side. Exactly. because think of the beauty of really tapping into who you are, tapping into the abundance of spirit. I love that, Valerie. Thank you. And yes, Anna.
Yeah, pretty much what both of you just said. I have a lot of people in my life with the 55. So I really, once I started understanding design, I realized, oh, that's what's going on, because this 55 is very watery. It's very Piscean. And water doesn't have edges until there's some earth. There's something that makes a boundary for it. And so spirit doesn't have form, it's an energy. And so it needs to be able to move in and out. And it's not something we can do. It isn't a doing type of thing. That's the shadow, is to try to find spirit. But the 39 is just something that occurs, because I'm not trying to do it either. It is just something organic, natural, an intelligence that moves from the root into the emotional intelligence. And again, in this whole frame of obstacles or not having passion or being passionate about something and not knowing quite what to do with it or what not to do with it, your decision-making strategy has a built-in element that's going to allow spirit to occur. The shadow is the effort about trying to get some aliveness, but your decision-making strategy, just in the nature of design, and the more I understand design, the more it's like, oh my God, this is so profound. It is already innate that we're full and we're complete. And it's these relationships with the other end of the trait that creates the strength, whatever the strength is, for spirit to move through. And we need each other. We're built in. When Rebecca was here talking about the loss, it's built in that we have these partners. And I understand really very well what you were talking about. I've had lots of loss, but as I gain more experience, I realize the things that come to you, that appear, the natural connections as you're operating in your correct decision-making strategy.
Yeah, really beautifully said, Anna. I love that analogy of the 55 just not having any form. And it's almost like the obstruction allows it to give, to have form, right? To, you pour water in a glass and it takes on the form of the glass so that you can then drink the water. So I just think that's a beautiful analogy, Anna, and taking a look at how, in a sense, the obstruction, gives the spirit, if you will, a form. Really beautifully said. Excellent. And Valerie, I don't know if you want to share a little bit about your dad.
Yeah, he's a very sort of closed off individual, doesn't like to share a whole lot about, how he's feeling or emotions or much about, his mood. And just as it mentions in the description of the shadow, of 39, he tends to sometimes lack some of that passion and drive or nervousness, so to speak. But I do notice that when I'm around him, since I have the 39, he having the 55, he does tend to feel a bit more open, and he's able to actually open up and talk about and access deeper emotions and feelings that he usually just keeps within and doesn't ever let surface. And I've had some amazing times within even the past couple years where he and I have been together, and I've learned so much about his childhood and had some tearful conversations with him about feelings and things that I've never known about my father, up until recently. And so I'm noticing that when he and I do get together, that he'll share a lot more and open up in ways that I've never experienced from him throughout my life. So it's really interesting to see how, human design plays out and how we interact with each other and what we are able to bring out in others. It's really amazing to see.
Oh, that is so beautiful. And again, this is the beauty of what's possible, right? When we are really supporting each other, we're there for each other. And as Valerie was sharing, it's nothing that you were quote unquote forcing or doing, but when you allow the mechanics to be what they are, the result is, this beautiful connection and allowing him to tap into his feelings. So I'm sure that as you're speaking with him, Valerie, you're also bringing forth some healing for him or some expression for him that he's not experienced in the past as well. So that's so beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing. And again, we can see how this can affect us not only in business, but how it can affect us personally as well. Love it. All right, so in a moment, I'm going to have each of our panelists share what to pay attention to this week as we wrap up Provoking. A couple of things that I wanted to say before we do that is Lavina just delivered the How to Unwind Your Monkey Mind, the shadow self redefined. So again, getting out of that shadow self to really tap into who you truly are. The replay is now available. You can find it on our website in our free resource library. You can also find it on our YouTube channel as well. So I invite you to check that out. Also, if you wonder, do I have the 39 in my design? You can download a free chart if you go to the BG5businessinstitute.com. You can also follow along with the trait of the day. You can also watch past episodes as well. That'll help you understand what each of these traits are all about. And we have courses coming up in September. We actually do have a foundation course that's starting next week, next Saturday on the 9th. Lavina Archers is going to be teaching the BG5 Foundation Course. It's really great to have her back. She taught a while ago and then was sick for a while, and she is back. And we are so very, very excited to have her join our faculty again as one of our instructors. So if you've been contemplating taking the foundation course and like, wow, you're really moved to start right away, we invite you to join us. So her classes are going to be on Saturdays, and that starts next Saturday, the 9th. So we'd love to have you join us. And again, then the rest of our courses, they start in September. So you have some a little bit of time to look them up, to check them out, and would love to have you join us. All right, let's wrap everything up, and I would love to hear from each of our panel as well as each of our guests, knowing what we've now discussed in taking a look at trait 39 and recognizing the pressure and the provoking and what it's all about with the obstruction. What are some things that you would recommend that people pay attention to over these next few days that we're in trait 39? Let's start with Anna.
What to pay attention to? I guess I would just sort of ponder your level of passion about one thing or another. Doesn't matter what per se, but notice the contrast of passion and not feeling too passionate. Because I just want to reiterate, spirit isn't something we can do, but it's so present. So when we're not feeling passionate, it's actually still there. And when we're feeling passionate, it just has a container. It just has a name. But the provoking is going to be around if you're receptive to it. It's right now this week. If you have the potential to be stimulated, to see something, hear something, something that will help you respond to spirit, because the more you respond with spirit, it becomes more real to you.
Beautiful, beautiful. Thank you so much, Anna. And how about for you, Vicki?
I think Vicki dropped off, actually.
Oh, Vicki might
She's
have
not
dropped
here
off.
anymore.
Is Rebecca
Yeah.
still here?
Rebecca and Valerie are still here.
Okay. How about for you, Rebecca?
I guess the only thing I would say is the pressure. I like the idea of the pressure to start something new, though. Yeah, because sometimes, what is it? Every act of creation is first an act of destruction. Maybe it doesn't always have to be destruction, but just to, yeah, it's about something new.
Yes, exactly. And that's what we're going to be moving into this week in as well, is the 53, the start of something new. Beautiful. Thank you so much, Rebecca. And Valerie.
Yeah, I would say from my personal perspective is to allow yourself to pay attention to ways that you're also being provoked, or if you're finding, if you're finding you're being combative with something, or something that you're in conflict with in life, and you're feeling pressure and different things like that, is to give yourself permission to pay attention to that, and to really look at where it's coming from, because often we don't want to look at those things, but if we allow it to be there and to come up and recognize what it is and where it's coming from, then allowing things to come to the surface can, blossom into something we didn't know was going to be on the other side of that. So to really just allow yourself to be open and trust whatever's coming.
So beautiful, Valerie. Thank you so much for sharing your insights and sharing your experiences, and really spot on. Thank you so very much for being here. Beautiful. Thank you, Valerie. And let's go to Shelley. And I don't know if there's anyone on Facebook Live that's typed in anything, and then would love to hear from you as well, Shelley.
Sure. Lisa Marie just made a comment on Facebook that this is such a rich and wonderful conversation. And I'm really can echo that. It's I love it when we really tap into our spirit in this show, and when people allow themselves to be open to that provocation of spirit, and just really trusting the process that we're going through, that it's all okay. That's what keeps coming up for me with all of this, is to kind of relax and recognize that and I love how Anna talked about it as provoking your passion, so that you know what you're feeling about something, or how interested you are in something. And the other thing that popped into mind was, we often try to resist that. We might start to feel the provocation and we push back, or we get afraid and don't want to go there. And I think it's really, this week is the opportunity for you to lean into it and to just trust that it'll be okay, that whatever you're being provoked with this in this week is meant for you. And it's, if you're, as Valerie said, if you're open to it and can kind of lean into it and just trust it, the process may reveal to you something you've been wanting to know about yourself that you were afraid to look at. So I echo what everyone else has said. It's been a wonderful session.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you so much, our Shelley and Anna, as always, and Valerie and Rebecca and Vicki for chiming in and being willing to be so vulnerable and provocative as well. So thank you so very much. It was a very rich discussion. And with that, we will sign off for today. And next week, we'll start taking a look at beginning something new. So that's something also to be paying attention to in this week, is how are these provocations opening the way for new beginnings, just like Rebecca said. All right, everyone, have a fabulous week, and we'll see you all next week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.